주인공은 머리가 노란 풍선인 소년. 남들과 다른 탓에 남들과 다른 관점으로 인생을 탐구한다는 1분 22초짜리 영화입니다.
So I try to live life with a lightness, a buoyancy, a joie, vivre.
캐나다의 영상 제작팀 kids가 올해 하반기 출시 예정인 오픈AI의 소라를 이용해 만든 단편 영화입니다. SBS가 이 작품의 감독인 월터 우드먼 감독을 화상으로 만나 소라의 첫인상과 제작 과정을 물었습니다.
How did you get to work with OpenAI?
The way that we got to work with OpenAI was we made an installation for one of our friends' films. That film was called Dali Land, and it was about the life of Salvador Dali. And what we did with this installation was in the lobby of a hotel called the t.Regis, we made something that looked like Salvador Dali's studio. And people could make their own abstract painting. And the way that we did that was we used Dali, the OpenAI image generation model. And that is where we met OpenAI, and they really liked us, and they really liked the work that we were doing. And so they invited us to join the artist group. And from there, they asked us if we would like to play around with Sora. And of course, we said yes, and here we are today. My first impression is that it's extremely powerful, and I think that it's going to open a lot of doors for small independent teams like Shy Kids, and I think that there's many other independent teams all around the world, which is really exciting. I also think that people who think it's going to be the answer to all problems and everything, I would say that that's false. I think that with each new technology, there's always things that it does really well and things that it can still improve on. And I still think that there's lots of things for it to improve on. It will improve on those things. And we're going to be in a new sort of paradigm. But I just am really excited that people's wild ideas are going to be that more attainable.
우드먼 감독은 첫 작품 에어헤드에 대한 아이디어를 5년 전부터 가지고 있었고 소라를 접한 뒤 이 아이디어가 실현 가능함을 깨달았다고 밝혔습니다.
Yeah, no, it was, so all of the images were generated. A few of the images were sort of edited after the fact. Sometimes there would be something wrong with an image, or the balloon would be the wrong color. So we would go in and manually like rotoscope and fix those things. But all of the images were generated by Sora. Just through our abilities to edit and animate and all of that, we just tried to like put filters on everything to make it all look cohesive and look like one story, as opposed to having the images be separate. But yeah, it was all generated images.
2주 전 공개한 후속작 디플레이티드는 실제 인물을 촬영한 영상을 소라로 만든 영상과 합성했습니다.
We just thought for the first film, let's try to limit it. Let's just try to use just the technology just to see what the limits are. And with Deflated, we wanted to, Sydney's an actor, and so we wanted to just see if we can, how realistic it would look to combine live action, which I think the fear for everybody is that, oh, Sora is going to replace all shooting. Well, we wanted to say, well, no, it's not. Sora can be in addition to shooting. And so I feel like that's kind of part of the reason why we did it, as well as it just fit the story the best.
Could you show me the one example of the prompt what you just typed?
A man with a plain balloon instead of a head and face is diving in the ocean or something like that.
Diving in the ocean, yeah.
Yeah, 35 millimeter cinematic, all that kind of stuff. Yep, you can pick things like duration, what the resolution is, and things like that.
우드먼 감독은 구체적인 프롬프트는 마치 요리사의 레시피와 같다며 극히 일부만 공개했습니다. 주인공이 풍선, 자신의 머리를 쫓아다니는 이 장면은 소라의 머리가 없는 남자가 노란 풍선을 쫓아간다, 시네마틱 35mm라고 입력한 결과입니다. 작업 시간도 궁금했습니다.
Depending on the settings, usually about 20 to 30 minutes.
20 or 30 minutes, like for 1 minute scene?
Or around 20 seconds. But it depends on what your settings that you want to do.
1분 22초 분량의 1편은 약 열흘 만에 제작됐고 실제 인물 촬영까지 한 3분 39초 분량의 2편은 3주 정도 소요됐다고 밝혔습니다.
What are the advantages? I mean, the advantages are that it makes stunning, unbelievable videos that I think it allows for people with creative ideas and enough gumption to go out and do it. I think the same is true about like the cell phone. It's like Cannes just happened in France, and the person who won the Palme d'Or, the grand prize, was Sean Baker, who shot his first film, Tangerine, on iPhones. And I think that when you start to see that people who made phones on their iPhone are now winning the Palme d'Or, now winning one of the most sacred prizes in film, that's pretty amazing. And I think the same will be true about AI, because there's a lot of artistic value to using these tools. And I think the advantage is, in the same way that computer-generated images were an advantage, in the same way of shooting on digital is an advantage, it just allows creatives to have less barriers to get to their ideas, their final ideas. No, I just think it's different. I really just think it's like, I see value in both. I see value in traditional VFX. I see value in shooting on film. I see value in hand-drawn animation like Studio Ghibli. I see value in all different ways to make a movie. The real value is, what is your story? And when you can answer that question, and if that question is answered by, oh, Sora would really help this, then I think it's really valuable to use Sora. If you just want to use Sora because it's perceived to be easier, I think you're going to be, I just don't think that's going to be very satisfying.
우드먼 감독은 한 인터뷰에서 소라가 마치 버튼을 누를 때마다 이길 수도 질 수도 있는 슬롯머신 같다고 비유했습니다.
Well, I think right now, the big thing that we're trying to get to is consistency. And it's just not there yet in terms of consistency. That's why we used a balloon for a head, because we wanted, it would be very hard to get a consistent character or a consistent face. So we tried to take away that element. And it's just right now, it's just like it takes some work to getting the things that you want to see. And I think that that will improve and get better over time. But I think that's an appropriate metaphor for where we are now. And I think that there's ways to get better results out of the slot machine and win more times. But I still think right now we're still in early days, so it still feels like we have to learn how to talk to Sora still.
감독은 원하는 결과를 얻기 위해 여러 가지 방법을 시도했다며 소라의 결과물이 만든 오류에 대해서도 말했습니다. 뉴스 시작 배경화면에 호주 대륙은 3개나 생성됐고 시계에는 4시가 없습니다. 제작진은 숫자 4를 훔쳐가는 사람 영상을 따로 만드는 익살로 대처했습니다.
Yeah, it's super hard to avoid errors. You know, the story of a guy with a balloon with his head is sort of surreal and psychedelic, and so maybe in his world there are 3 Australias. And I think that is so like, that will get better and that will be fixed. We're talking right now to like day 1. This is a baby still. So like the Australia problem will be fixed. Again, the larger question is, what are the stories? Because like, it's great that people notice that. I think it's hilarious. But that will be fixed, and then what? Like, who cares when it's one Australia? We're gonna have to deal with it being very good soon enough. So those types of issues will, over time, no longer happen.
AI 도구가 예술의 본질과 예술의 형식이 가지고 있는 범주를 바꾼 것은 아닐까?
I think that people who try to categorize art as this is art and this is not art, they generally aren't looked upon fondly in terms of history. Let's take Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol drew soup cans, and everyone said, this is not art. You're just painting a soup can. I can go to the supermarket and go get one of those. B, you don't even paint them. You have a factory of people that paints them. You don't even paint them. It's ugly, it's non-aesthetic, and whatever. And maybe those people are right. They could be. I think art is subjective. So if you don't think that what Andy Warhol made was art, then you're probably right. I personally believe that what Andy Warhol did was reflect a mirror to the current culture. My hope is that the technology will shine a light on humanity. If the technology removes humanity, then I think it will be really negative. If the technology can shine a light on humanity, it will be very positive. And I think that all those people that said photographs are killing all the work of painters and it's not hard, all you have to do is click a button and then the thing appears. Well, how wrong they were, and like how wrong, like photography is a beautiful art form that, you know, just because everyone has an iPhone in their pocket doesn't mean everyone's a photographer. And similarly with film cameras, just because everyone has a film camera doesn't mean everyone is a filmmaker. And I think the same will be true about AI. Just because everyone has the ability to generate beautiful images doesn't make you an artist, doesn't make you a filmmaker. It's how you use that and what you use it for that is really how you'll be judged. So if people want to define AI art as not art, that could be true for them. However, our hope is that we can show an alternate where hopefully these tools can be used to make something that people would define as art.
오픈AI와 추가 프로젝트를 진행 중인 우드먼 감독은 기술로 표현 가능한 경계를 어디까지 밀어붙일 수 있는지 실험하고 있다고 밝혔습니다. SBS 홍여지입니다.
We found each other.